All right. Welcome back, folks. Another Yankees win. That's something we've gotten used to here on Yankees Unloaded since we started. The Yankees are 8-2 on the season. Winning pitchers, Jake Cousins. Losing pitchers, Bowden Francis, just kind of like what we told you. Dennis Santana with the save, the rare save in which he came in. It was 6-2, ends up being, or 6-3, ends up being a 8-3 ball game at the end. And he gets the save with 5-run lead there in the ninth. Gary, today I thought went exactly how we were kind of alluding to in the last episode. I think really when you look at the offense, they got going, and it's a big reason is because we knew that they were going to just put the smackdown on Bowden Francis. I mean, if they didn't take out Francis there after the grand slam, this thing goes in the double digits. But I think 8-1 was my prediction. Wasn't too far off. Heel with 8 strikeouts and 4 1/3. I'll take. Thought he'd go a little bit further, but again, that pitch count, he just has to get that down. But yeah, just a fun day today for the Yankees. And Gary, the best thing about playing at 135 and getting a win is that you have the rest of the day after that.
Yeah, and we can actually post to YouTube and it won't upload at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's pretty nice too.
Oh, what do you mean? You don't like the 2-hour wait time?
I don't like it at all. But let's be clear. Bowden Francis pretty much had no chance today. So today's outing essentially all boiled down to one thing. And it was Luis Gil and his ability to essentially have the stuff that he's got. We knew he was going to be successful. It was just a matter of how long. Because it didn't seem like Toronto's offense really did much of anything the whole series, except for against Hamilton, where they showed patience. Well, offensively, they haven't swung a hot bat. So we did know that Luis Gil's stuff was essentially going to dominate this game, just a matter of how long. And we predicted yesterday that we were going to see Jake Cousins. We did. We saw him. My expectation was that Boone wanted to go multiple innings with Cousins. Didn't get an opportunity to. Obviously, Cousins was pretty wild, walking 2 guys. And I've got to say this one thing about Jake Cousins. And you said it before we went on the show. He has got to have the nastiest slider that I've seen in a while. And he clearly, and this is not meant as a knock, I don't know how you can know where that thing's going as of now, right? Maybe there's a little bit too much lateral break to this pitch, and maybe they've got to hone it in, or he's just got to figure out maybe a different spot to stand on the mound. There's all types of adjustments I'm sure Matt Blake is trying to work on right now to hone that in. But when he does, that video that we posted maybe a week ago about Jake Cousins, that video is going to look really good.
I agree. And that's the thing. I think way too many people are like, I'm tired of Jake Cousins. I don't want to see him pitch again. It's like, you have to understand something. Matt Blake doesn't work his magic overnight. No one works their magic overnight. They got him because they have multiple years of control. He's 29. He may not have any control of his pitching, but the guy has absolutely astounding break on his slider. And even his fastball, even I saw his changeup. That thing was way too high. Obviously, you want to keep the changeup a little bit lower than that. But did you see that thing move? I mean,
disgusting.
He's got some of the craziest movement in baseball. I mean,
yeah, but this is the same thing with Nick Birdie as well. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Okay. The Yankees, they have a thing going on right now where they're prioritizing stuff and putting in the bullpen. And when you watch Nick Birdie, you would assume that the Yankees went out and gave something away, something big time to go get an arm like that. Nick Birdie's sitting upper 90s.
Yeah.
Would it be a surprise to you to tell you Nick Birdie's career ERA is 7.58?
No.
So it goes to show you that the New York Yankees, and specifically Matt Blake, they have an understanding of what they're looking for, who fits the mold. And it's the reason we made that video on Jake Bauers to begin with, is that
Jake Cousins.
Jake Cousins. Jake Bauers. Oh, kill me. Jake Bauers. Sorry, Yankees fans, to bring that name back to your attention. Yeah. So anyway, there's a reason they brought him in, because you know the type of stuff that we want. You know the type of stuff we can work with. And like Jake just said, not Jake Bauers, they know the type of guy that they want to work with. And they have an understanding that past like inconsistencies, being wild, last year, the year prior, doesn't matter. We're going to figure out how to work with you. And if Matt Blake has got any time at all with guys like Nick Birdie, right? If he's got any time whatsoever, we're going to be successful out of the bullpen. In my opinion, the Yankees still are maybe an arm short, and finding somebody who can pile up some innings. We know Schmidt is known as somebody who's, you've actually just said it before we went live, that you like Heel more than Schmidt. And I think part of that is that neither player as of yet is going to give big time innings, but at the very least, Heel is a high priced arm stuff guy. And that's what we like about him. So I'm very encouraged by the stuff that I'm seeing. And at the very least, I'm not discouraged the fact that he's not pitching efficiently as of yet, because we're trying to essentially massage him into the season off injury anyway. So I really enjoy what I'm seeing.
Well, Gary, if he's missing 8 bats in this game for strikeouts, and this is his second start coming off Tommy John rehab, and you could say all you want, well, he was great in spring training. He not spring training. Let me make this very clear. You're not always going up against starting lineups. Okay. There were 2, sometimes 3 spring training games going on at the same time in the Yankees organization. Did we forget about that? We had lineups where half the starters were in one game and half of the Yankee starters were playing in another. Like Verdugo was in the other lineup. He wasn't with Judge. He wasn't, that happened multiple times. People forget about that.
I think we use confirmation bias with those numbers in particular. Like we just kind of act like it doesn't matter how they accomplish that. And then if someone doesn't play well, we say, oh, it was just spring training. So we kind of decide where we want to go with those spring training numbers and then use them accordingly. But to your point, yeah, you're going to be seeing maybe 3 guys on the big league roster in any given lineup. So you can't read too much into those numbers.
Spring training is like if the summer league started incorporating like the starters and had them play like, for, I don't know, like, we'll say a half, right? They play a half. I mean, sometimes less. Like if LeBron James was coming out there and you have all these rookies and everything, and it's like, oh, LeBron James was kicking ass in the, summer league. It's like, well, I hope so. But then at the same time, with like a guy like Heel, for instance, it's like now, and again, it's very encouraging. But when you're thinking about it, say the summer league, you're talking about, whatever, the third, maybe the 30th overall pick, right? And he's not playing against LeBron. He's not playing against any of the stars. He's playing against the guys that are his peers. That's more or less what Heel was seeing in spring training. He was still going up against major league. Yeah, and he was still going up against major league hitters, but it wasn't every day. So now he is, and to see him have just such dominance of the strike zone, he gets away from it when he's up 0-2, I notice. But he really pounds the strike zone, and he has these pitches that are just absolutely devastating to hitters. And a free swinging lineup, we talked about this, a free swinging lineup like the one the Blue Jays have, they're susceptible to getting beat by that. They're also susceptible to hitting a home run off him because that velocity. I mean, you don't have to hit it that hard. If he's throwing it 100, there you go. You make contact.
Oh, yeah. Especially the right-handed bats going the other way. I mean, we've seen it with Gleyber Torres over the years.
314 down the line. I mean,
we've seen IKF go out the other way. So it's not easy to pitch at Yankee Stadium, of course, depending on the style of pitcher, because when you are a high-velocity guy, you're a right-handed guy, you're facing right-handed bat, well, you're throwing away, you're providing most of that power. So these are all adjustments that Matt Blake and Aaron Boone have to consider when you bring on a guy. So, and this is, I wanted to bring up Dennis Santana. I thought he did, I don't know any names. He was very good. I wouldn't say we complained, but we did mention that we didn't enjoy the fact that he came out for a second inning the last time out, didn't pitch particularly well in that second inning. He was very good today. So I wanted to make sure we brought attention to that. And you already know we got to bring up Big G, Giancarlo Stanton. And I've got to tee this up because we have mentioned, and this is not necessarily a prediction, and we've talked about this a few times. Giancarlo Stanton has been essentially MIA or injured since 2021. Okay. We're not making any claims here. In 2022 and 2023, he was not consistent enough to be on the field. Now, that's looking in hindsight based on his output. But let's be clear. He's been very good the past 2 days since we made a video on Giancarlo Stanton. For whatever reason that there would be, that swing he took today.
I mean, that's the only other thing I would.
That swing he took today. I heard that here in Arizona.
Yeah, okay? that was violent. That was like, I'm actually kind of mad. Like, I'm going to start calling him the Incredible Hulk if he keeps doing stuff like that. Like, you could just hear the anger in his swing, The
ball was pooed on. But that's something that I've mentioned.
Have you ever heard Michael Case say it looked like the ball was in pain?
Right. And it's true. But this is what we said about Giancarlo, is that based on the last 2 years, he hasn't had streaky performances. He's been pretty much consistently bad. Now, what I said before the season ever started, so spring training, in my opinion, just doesn't count. I personally didn't care at all. Giancarlo was just raking in spring training. But having said that, when Giancarlo came into this year, I said he can be terrible for the first 3 or 4 games of the season, but then the next 3 or 4, he's got to be really good. And we need a consistently inconsistent player. And at the very least, now that we've seen how these games have gone, it looks like we're at least trending towards a consistently inconsistent player, which is literally all anyone should be asking for at this point. Because when you have 2 years of bad performance, and then at the very least, Giancarlo is the reason we won this game today, guys, which is insane to say. But he is. And that inconsistency showed up today in a good way. So I'm very happy to see it. I'm not rooting against him as much as some may think. But it's our job as podcast hosts to bring up trends. We mentioned those trends, and we tried to make a judgment based on that trend to determine what he's going to do in the future. So the fact that he's playing well, all props to him. Hopefully it continues. And now we're going to start the trend to have Giancarlo lead off.
Yeah. Well, not quite, because he did strike out twice, ground into a double play.
I'm kidding.
But his grand slam was huge. And one thing I'll say here is that, to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, I think a lot of the times when you really like a player and, say you really like a show and it's our show, and you hear that they're, ripping the player, a lot of the times you want to be like, see, told you so. And I've already seen people that have done that are viewers, and that's great. Like, at the same time, Gary and I don't have an enormous ego where we're going to sit here and never give Stanton credit. At the same time, we don't have one where we're going to sit here and make excuses. And we're not going to sit here and say, that we want Stanton to be bad because we'd rather be right. I think you and I would both agree, Gary. I'd rather be wrong about everything that is negative, because that means that positive things are happening.
If Giancarlo's playing well, that means the Yankees are winning.
Yeah.
We saw the numbers yesterday. They said anytime Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton hit a home run the same game, we essentially are unbeatable. So in what world?
31-4, like unreal.
Ridiculous. So in what world do we want Giancarlo Stanton to not play well? Our show does better when we win. Like, whether people like it or not, people are in a better mood to watch an hour-long recap of what they saw on the field with your absolute 2 favorite hosts when we win. And I can't blame you. I don't want to go on YouTube and watch highlights when we lost a game. I mean, how many people want to do that? So yeah, to Jake's point, we're rooting for him. We want him to play well. And that goes for any player who's a Yankee. But as long as we're making the proper decisions, we're going to mention when we think people are making poor decisions, putting people in spots they shouldn't be. And we felt like Giancarlo hadn't deserved to be hitting 4th or 5th yet. Now, obviously, if you can know into the future that he's going to play really well the next 2 days, yeah, we would hit him 4th or 5th. I mean, I think that's an obvious choice. But going forward, I mean, right now, he's kind of the hot bat, you can say. I mean, he hit a grand slam, but you did mention he rolled into a double play and struck out twice. So we'll try and check it. We'll hone that in.
So in addition to that, you and I have said, and by the way, this is the quietest 3-for-4 game I've ever seen. No one is talking about Anthony Volpe going 3-for-4. No one is talking about him scoring 2 runs. No one cares because they know you could even take away the 4 runs. And yes, if you're doing the math, 4-3 wins you the game. However, it's that moment where momentum kicks in. When you hit that grand slam, that causes, Francis to get booted, right? Now, all of a sudden, the Jays are in their pen. You got them where you want them. I thought Espino was really good. They were only able to hit him twice in 2 innings. And then Meza comes up and gives up a run. And then they bring in Richards, and Richards was pretty good. And then they got to Cabrera late in the game. Volpe still should lead off. But since we're making the rounds here, Gleyber Torres has actually been a pretty decent leadoff hitter. I would say he's probably average in the league right now. Well, middle of the league. I think the problem is it's preference. It's the fact that Volpe's hitting 424. And it's the fact that personally for me, I prefer the guy that can get on base and actually threaten with his speed. Volpe now just stole his second and third base today. He stole 2 bases today. This is the type of speed I want on the base pass when you already have to face Soto, Judge, and Rizzo, and apparently now Stanton. To me, you create a murder's row in that regard. And when I look at Torres, I mean, I think he's still, his at-bats have been really solid, Gary. The strikeout was total BS. I mean, the ball was like way over his head, way over the batter's box.
Oh, you didn't like Angels' zone today?
No. And in addition to that, that's the first batter of the game. I mean, what kind of, taste is left in someone's mouth when you see like Gleyber, for instance, steps out, which he has every right to do because the pitcher steps off the mound. At that point, this is not a legal pitch. If you go ahead and you pitch now, this does not count. If anything, like you can't do that. And he throws a pitch and then it's above the zone and Hernandez says strike 3. Not only that, Torres was complaining that he didn't even look at him. You know what Angel said? You got to be ready for it anyway.
Okay, so let's be clear about one thing here. And this has, if you take anything from this show, take this away. Angel Hernandez is essentially a disgruntled substitute teacher. Do you ever go to high school and you have that person that you just walk through the door and you recognize that substitute teacher as just being a total dimwit? Well, that's Angel Hernandez. He's unionized. And so a lot of people don't really understand why he's in the position that he's in. Let's be perfectly clear. He's hired today, currently, because he's involved in a job that has a union. He cannot be fired based on performance. It cannot happen. We have all types of ways to audit this. We have audited it. It's atrocious. It's bad. It's been consistently bad. He has an ego. When you're bad at your job and you have an attitude about your job, you're not a good employee. You're not really good for anybody, all parties.
No, he's awful. So
when you look at, but to digress and talk about Gleyber Torres, because obviously it had to do with his at bat, but Gleyber Torres as a whole, Gleyber Torres is a very good hitter. I expect him to have a great year this year, especially when you're talking about Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Rizzo, and then hopefully a better version of Giancarlo Stanton. I expect Gleyber Torres to drive the ball this year. I expect him to score a lot of runs, help us score a lot of runs. But having said that, just because someone's a good hitter doesn't mean they should hit leadoff. There's different things that different people want to look for. When you look at the Philadelphia Phillies, you say, okay, are they looking for a speed guy to lead off or are they looking for power? The Philadelphia Phillies made a decision, said Kyle Schwarber either hits a home run or he walks. He had one of the best on-base percentages last year. Yeah, he struck out a lot, but he walked and he hit home runs. So they wanted to give him as many at-bats as possible. Gleyber Torres is not a guy who walks a ton. He's not a guy who leaves the ballpark a ton, right? So when you talk about Gleyber Torres, he has an understanding of how to drive runs in. Well, putting Austin Wells and Oswaldo Cabrera ahead of him in the 8-9 spot is not exactly maximizing Gleyber Torres. That's my point. So when I talk about Anthony Volpe, I don't look at Volpe and say, he's a driver in of runs. He's the guy who's going to clean it up and put a ball in the gap and bring everybody home. In my opinion, he's a table setter. He's the same way I saw Derek Jeter. Am I saying he's Derek Jeter? Absolutely not. Am I saying he can be a great player? Absolutely. But what matters here is that Anthony Volpe has a skill set that Juan Soto and Aaron Judge can live off of. They can eat off of. And that's what I want to make sure people understand. When I say that Anthony Volpe should be hitting leadoff and perhaps you put Gleyber Torres 4th or 5th in the lineup, it's not because I want a demotion of Gleyber Torres. That's not it at all. I want to maximize him, and I want to maximize Anthony Volpe as well. So that's where we come from that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's funny you said substitute teacher, and I just totally thought back to high school. This guy comes.
I'm sorry to do that to you guys.
This guy comes in, and a friend of mine in school, I haven't talked to him in years, just took his desk and turned it all the way facing the wall because he just did respect him. And it's like,
right.
That I bring that up because that is literally how people feel about Angel Hernandez. Whether you're a fan, you're a manager, you're a player, they're turning their desks at this guy. They don't look at him as anything other than, yeah, he's here today. He won't be there tomorrow. Like, we just have to, I guess, exist while he's here, and hopefully he doesn't cost us a game. But he was bad on both sides. I can't stress that enough. Gleyber let one go right down the middle on purpose, by the way. Totally normal. It wasn't a bad, it was just a take. And he called it a ball. And I was just like, oh my God. That's just basically what we dealt with today as baseball fans watching this game. I thought Soto had a really nice hit, also worked a walk. He's just awesome. Love watching him bat. Aaron Judge today, I think he was really trying to swing for the fences, but at the same time, I think he knew he was like, I just need to take these walks. His average goes down because of, he walked twice, but I thought it was a decent day at the dish for Judge. Rizzo got under some, but he did walk a couple. Stanton had, we talked about it, the grand slam. Verdugo, I feel for him, man. I've been there, just being a hitter. It's like nothing you do goes right. And that is just the unlucky part about baseball. I'm not going to sit here and lie to people and say I think Verdugo is having the best at bats ever. But there are some where it's just like, yeah, that's just baseball. Puts a nice, swing on the ball, and it just is a laser, and it goes right into the center fielder's glove. Like,
yeah, his career batting average on balls in play is 311. So that should go to show you right there. Verdugo's not striking out. He was 0 for 4 and put the ball in play 4 times today.
Yeah.
Okay? So
yeah,
it's difficult to watch a player where something is becoming so consistent for that guy, and then for him not essentially just putting the ball in play all the time and just nothing is coming of it. And am I saying, and you kind of just said the same thing exactly, is that, are we saying Verdugo's just hitting lasers all over the field and nothing's falling? Not really. He's not hitting the ball really with any authority. He's kind of losing his confidence, which it's baseball. He can have 3 hits tomorrow. It's very much possible. Or they might give him the day off tomorrow. Just give him a breather. You can see how frustrated he was, and that's what's so disappointing, because when you talk about a guy like Alex Verdugo, you don't go up to the plate with that type of chain on when you don't have confidence. So to see somebody go back to first base or to basically walk past their first base coach into the dugout and just not sulk, but to look depleted is obviously disappointing. It was not an easy day for an offense today. I mean, the weather was atrocious. It was windy. It was cold. And
that's the thing. He probably felt like he was ripped off, because he's like, wait, so you're telling me every fly ball I get in left field is moving all over the place because of the wind, and anytime he hit one to left field, it just went right at the guy, or he hit one to center. Yeah, he was just like, this ain't really fair. And then how about that catch that Biggio made it right? I mean, that was insane.
Well, that
I
would
don't think people realize that. If he doesn't catch that, and that's another thing where Cabrera ends up 1 for 3 today. He 100% should have gotten that. Like, that was a really nice hit. That was a huge spot. Would have just absolutely broke the game open, like you mentioned. Biggio made a sliding grab. I think I made one of those in my entire life out in the outfield, like that, where you're like sliding towards the line. And it's just, it feels weird because the ball is going to land straight down. And it's like, if you're making a huge risk, like if you slide and you don't cut that thing off like the right way, that thing is dropping. Like,
it was in fair territory. So, I mean, we all saw the game. It was in fair territory. So the one thing I'll say about Verdugo, last thing about him, is that it's going to even itself out. It's not going to matter. I know it sucks right now watching this. He's hitting a $143, and it's hard. It's really difficult not to look at the stat sheet and say, okay, 143, his ops is 454.
It's the 225 on base, I think, that's probably going to bother him. Like, he's not getting on base a lot, but
right,
like you said, that'll even itself out.
It'll work out. I'm really not worried about him. As long as we're getting performances out of Soto, Judge, and Stanton is doing anything, the other guys in the lineup, I'm not going to hyper analyze and overanalyze the 6-hitter. Okay?
Exactly.
I'm going to say that we've won this many games, and there's a few players in our lineup, Aaron Judge in particular, that just haven't hit the ground running at all. So the fact that we're winning like this, it kind of goes to show you we can afford to be patient with some of these bats. We don't have to freak out. You know, as much as we want to say, hey, what do we do with Stanton? And then Verdugo stops hitting or isn't hitting at all. What do we do with Verdugo? Sometimes the best move is to just do nothing. Let him play and continue to go out there. They're going to figure it out. He did last year. He did the year before. Why wouldn't he this year? So I'm going to cool it when it comes to Verdugo, and I'm just going to let him do his thing. I'm not freaking out, ready to boo. I think he's going to be great. I do.
And I think with Austin Wells, you could also apply the same thing, although I think he's having better at bats. He has a 150 batting average. And I think if you just look at straight batting average, you think, oh, this guy sucks. At the same time, he has a 308 on base percentage with a 150 batting average. He's working counts. He's getting on base with walks. You know, and he drove that ball out there. Like, it's once again, you know, day before he's driving balls out to the warning track. Today, drove one out to the warning track. To me, this is a sign it's only a matter of time before I think he goes on a little bit of a run. I think he's really starting to, you know, get back into the swing of things. But I'm most impressed with how he's able to work counts. He gets down early and then it's just like, nope. He battles back. And that's the thing, is that this team does still grind out at bats. That wasn't just this is nice for the first 2 games. They still do that. I don't think that's being talked about enough. I know that was something that we talked about a lot. 7 walks today they generated, 2 from Rizzo, 2 from Judge, and obviously 1 from Soto. Those are the usuals. But, you know, Wells and even Cabrera working a walk. Cabrera's starting to make me wonder. It's early on, but like, if this guy really changed and like he could end up being their franchise third baseman. I mean, that's absolutely real. If he's completely changed. He's 25 years old. You know, the way he's playing, he looks different when he digs in the box, you know, just looks
he
more
did
confident.
make an error. Yeah, so he did make an error, which happens, but at the same time, he looks a little rushed, I would say, at third base, because you can see the ceiling there. I mean, we saw the arm yesterday. The arm was just spectacular, which is always good. It's always good to see the ceiling and being able to make, because if you're going to be someone's third baseman for the foreseeable future, you need to be able to make the spectacular play too. It can't just all be routine. But having said that, the mistakes that I see from Cabrera are balls essentially right at him, not hard hit balls at all. So having said that, I think these are very learnable experiences for Cabrera, and which is always a good thing, because you don't want to see and say, okay, well, this guy's got a low ceiling at third base. That's not what we want to see. And as far as Wells, I made the prediction that I don't love our catching options. I didn't love Trevino at all, right? I'm not high on him. And I really wasn't particularly high on Austin Wells. But if I can say one thing about him, the eye test, he surpassed every expectation I have. He's hitting 150. But if you watch the games in Arizona, okay, and you watch the games here, he was spectacular. He was really good. So I was very thrilled with what we saw. And yes, he's hitting 150. That's not great, but I'm expecting balls to fall for him. And to be honest with you, I was kind of wrong about that. So I'm going to put my hand up.
And the drop foul ball, we got to talk about that, because I know people are going to get on him. I'm going to come on the defense hard here. When you have a game like today where the wind was clearly picking up, I mean, we saw a ball, I think a Rizzo hit, that was in fair territory, and Vladdy was there, and it just went way out. And you're like, how did that happen? It was one of those crazy windy days. You have to understand, windy with sun in your eyes was not easy to make that grab. Wells really just kind of lost it in the sun, and then the windiness got to him there. And I think that actually happened a few times in left field, but Verdugo didn't drop it. So yeah, I know people are beating up Wells and giving him an error and all that, and I get the error. I mean, you got to catch it, and it didn't end up hurting him in that instance. The Cabrera error was way worse, but yeah, I wasn't too worried, and I think he's been great behind the plate to the point where it's like you don't need Trevino. Like, he's your backup. I don't want to see him until I need to see him. That's how I look at it. Now, do catchers, again, going back to our point, that we made a few videos ago, Posada played only 150 plus, games in a season once. Catchers normally don't play. I mean, they just don't play full seasons. So, like I said, I'm hoping we see 140 plus out of Austin Wells.
Well, let's be clear. Just based on what they've been doing so far, because you have to remember a few days ago, we saw Trevino play after Wells had a day off. So it kind of goes to show you they're not viewing this, at least right now, as a Austin Wells show and then a part-time gig for Trevino. They're looking at this as a split 40 job. And it's not, in my opinion, it's not right. I said this before the season start.
I'm absolutely against it.
You got to give him the keys at some point. And I know he's hitting 150. It's hard to say throw the keys to a young kid, but
that's actually not true. It's 70-30 because he's played 7 games. So it's literally 70-30 based on 10 games.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's not bad. I want to see 80-20 or 90-10. I think 90-10 gets you where you want to go.
Feels like it was more than that, doesn't it? 70-30? That doesn't even sound right. I feel like every time, I feel like I see Trevino every night.
Oh, you know what?
Feels like.
You know what it might be? Because he pinch hit. So yeah, I think it is 60-40. Okay. Because it counts as a game, but he didn't play in the game.
No, he didn't play in the game.
No, the pinch hit also was really bad. But they left 7 on base today. The Jays left 11 on base. That's a lot of pitching out of jams. 1 for 7 runners in scoring position for the Jays. The Yankees go 3 for 9. Torres came through, Stanton came through, and Cabrera came through. Stanton had 4 RBIs, gets him up to 6. Rizzo had an RBI, gets him up to 4. Soto 7. Cabrera with his 8th RBI. And Stanton is now all of a sudden leading the team in home runs, which is kind of funny in that regard. So
we're not hitting that many home runs.
No, notice not hitting that many home runs, and they're still 8-2. How is that possible? I was told home run or strikeout.
What we were told.
Volpe 424 is your batting average leader. Stanton is leading the team with 3 home runs. Cabrera is leading the team in RBIs, just like we all thought, with 8. Stroman has a 0 ERA, leading the team in that. Luke Weaver is leading the team in wins with 3, and Luis Heel, the first 2 times through the rotation, is leading the team in strikeouts with 14.
Wow, Weaver has leading the league in wins that he had no business winning.
He didn't pitch well once. It's a funny game, man. It really is a funny game. Right now, looking at the OPS, Volpe is over 1,000. Cabrera's at 934. Soto's at 873. Judge is at 778. Stanton's at 774. Rizzo 665. Glaber 640. Wells 458. Let's see. Verdugo 454, and then Birdie's at 444. Trevino's at 237. Grisham's at 200, and then Jahmai Jones has 1 at bat, so he has 0. As far as wins above replacement, Volpe almost has an entire win above replacement at 0.8. Soto
already?
Volpe 0.8, Soto 0.6, Cabrera 0.3, Judge 0.2, Glaber 0.2. How about John Birdie with 0.1? This guy's barely played.
You know where I think that 0.1 came from? I think it came from that diving play down the line. You remember that?
Yeah, well, hey, it's deserving there. And then after that, Rizzo 0.1. The only negatives here, I think you can guess. Grisham, negative 0.1. Verdugo, negative 0.1. Trevino, negative 0.3. In 4 games.
Yeah, and I'm not here to laugh at him, but I mean, he's been
that's
poor
bad.
Offensively, poor defensively, because he hasn't been good defensively yet. It's very early. We got it, right? It's been early, but he's not playing well. And to be honest with you, the part of the game that I expect to travel, like to kind of be consistent from game 1 all the way to 162, is the glove. That's where I would expect guys to be a little bit more consistent. I don't expect guys to hit a ton. It's cold, it's windy, sun's in your face, there's shadows. We saw it on the broadcast. It was not a good day to hit. So having said that, I'm trying not to overly judge these offensive players, as hard as that is to do. I know we did it for one guy, tried not to do it for others like Wells, and we did it for Stanton, but Trevino hasn't been good on either side of the ball. So yeah, that number doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and then Judge is leading the team in walks with 10, Soto with 8, Glaber with 5, Wells with 5, Rizzo with 5, Volpe with 4, Verdugo with 4, Cabrera with 3, Trevino, Grisham, and Stanton with 1. Gotta love Stanton with only 1 walk, because Stanton has 15, actually add 17 strikeouts now after that game.
He's struck out 17 times. He's walked once.
Yeah.
Goes over. That's actually impressive.
Yeah. Judge 11 Ks, Glaber with 10. Soto's had 7. Volpe's had 7. Trevino has 5 in 4 games.
Okay.
Wells has 3. Birdie has 4. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty. Verdugo only has 2, which is leading.
Well, so you're talking about walks?
No, it's like strikeouts.
Oh yeah, see, that's why we brought him on the team. Weren't we tired of striking out? We were tired of watching strikeouts. Bring him on. We can complain all we want, but guess what, guys? He's not punching out. You remember when we watched like 2 years ago, and we would see like Cordero out there, or last year, and we're like, hey guys, he doesn't have it right now. And then you turn on the game, and we've got 3 or 4 punchies, and we're booing. Yeah, that's not going to happen with Alex Verdugo. Is he going to maybe in a game strike out 3 times? Sure. But is it going to be a series where he strikes out 11 times? No, that's not going to happen. It's a different style of hitter, and it's why I'm being as patient as I can with Verdugo, because you never know. 5 weeks from now, he's the type of bat to ball guy where he could be our most consistent bat for whatever reason. You can't really explain it, but he's just grinding out at bats. And frankly, he's kind of done that already. He's just not getting the results. So
yeah.
And also, side note, special shout out to the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are 8-2, beating the Baltimore Orioles today and helping us out. So that was real nice. They walked him off today.
That is cool. The Orioles have some gripe because that Rowdy Tellez guy, that slide was disgusting, man. Into third base. Did you see that?
Wait, Rowdy Tellez? No, I didn't see this.
He slid right into the third baseman trying to make a play. Like, it wasn't even close to the bag. Like, he slid into his legs.
I'm going on Twitter right now. It'll pop up.
Probably find it on my, because I pointed it out. It's an illegal slide, and it's a dirty slide, in my opinion. And he just looks like such a goober, sliding right into the dude's legs.
Okay, so clearly here.
Yeah, it's just not even.
So this is what I'm seeing. I really wish we could pull this up on our show, because I think that would be awesome. And we eventually will do this. But I think his argument to this slide of why it's legal is that he thinks, well, I'm going straight to the bag, but my foot is literally straight sideways.
He's just doing the whole hand thing. So he's like, I was sliding into the.
Oh, guys, I'm 30. My whole hamstring almost locked up on me right there. You got the key is to stretch before you do anything like that. That slide's illegal. That's not.
No, it's not even like close. And there are people like arguing, well, his hand. Don't give me that. Do not give me that. Oh my God. It's the same people, the Genesis Cabrera guy, same people that sided with him. Like, no, he was just wrong. He just that argument, between the Jays and the Rays, I think it was.
Yes.
And he just did that. Like, I'm sorry, like the dude was talking and he did that and then kept going. He was in the wrong. He was in the way and then he did that. It's one of those things like where it's not even up for debate. But let me ask you this. How is Volpe the leader in runs, batting 7th? That's insane. He's got 9 runs, Gary. He's got 9. He bats 7th more often than not.
Well, for one, so there's a couple things, really. Like, if you really think about it, Anthony Volpe, he's leading the team in runs, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're saying here. And he's doing that partially because he's getting on base a lot, but also he's in scoring position pretty much as soon as he gets to first base. He's at the very least putting pressure on the other team to go to second base, and it changes the way that Oswaldo Cabrera's pitch, right? It's changing the way they're pitched.
He's doing it though without Judge and Soto after him. That's what's so impressive. And it's like, this is why. And then Cabrera's 7 runs. So you're like, what's going on here? Glaber has 5. He's the leadoff hitter. He should have at least 5 or more. I think really right now though, as we look forward to tomorrow, and that game, I think it's at 6:05. It's a different time because of the eclipse. We know that. But based on tomorrow going up against what looks to be, barring any sort of change, it's going to be Luzardo. The Marlins did get their first win today, so that's not holding over their head. So
I'm very happy that happened, by the way, because I was not trying to
be the first loss of the year.
Yeah, because now it's not a conversation anymore. And I can honestly tell you, anytime a team is like 0-8, 0-10,
they become as dangerous as a team that's 10-0.
You don't want it. So now that a team is 1-9 or whatever they are, 1-9, they're not coming in with a chip on their shoulder. They're just butt water.
Not only that,
no, they're not good.
They won 10-3 today on the Cardinals.
Big win. Well done, guys.
Chisholm and Gordon hit back-to-back. Well, that's not possible.
They hit 3-run bombs in the same
they
inning,
hit 3-run bombs. Yeah. I was like, wait a minute. It said back-to-back. I was like, that's the math ain't math.
I was like, back-to-back 3-run homers? Why aren't we doing that?
They just, intentionally walk everybody. They intentionally walk back-to-back guys to get to that point. No, all jokes aside, though, Cortez versus Luzardo, I think this is a sneaky game. Like, I think the Marlins could absolutely steal this game. Riding high off a blowout win, their first win of the year. Luzardo's their ace. Cortez is the Yankees ace. But here's the deal right now, technically, based on the rotation. Here's the deal. Cortez has not pitched well, and he's gotten off to rough starts. And, just kind of looking at, the Marlins today, they got after it. They attacked. They were very aggressive at the plate. It's a big reason why they put a 10 spot on the Cardinals on the road, by the way. So they stay on the road here. Arias, people have been doing the whole, I want to start a dialogue when it comes to Arias and Volpe, right? It keeps happening. I want to start a dialogue. And they put Arias is hitting 2 whatever and Volpe's hitting 4. And I think that's ridiculous because it's way too early in the year. And we know Luis Arias is one of the best pure hitters in baseball. He's outstanding. It's why he's leading off. He had a 4-for-5 day today. 3 runs. Did he really? He's back. Okay. So what does Cortez struggle with? He struggles with early on. So now, you're talking about guys like Arias. You're talking about Josh Bell with his power at the top of the lineup, and Berger, of course, who's hitting 308. He's got power. Chisholm is not, he's not off to a great start, but he had a home run today. He got back on the train. Tim Anderson, who took over for Nick Birdie at short when they traded him. So there are guys all over this lineup. Nick Gordon offers speed. He had a 2-for-5 day, 3 ribby day. There's a lot of speed in this lineup. There's also a lot of power at the top of this lineup. And I understand people are probably sitting here like, are you trying to tell me that the 1-9 Miami Marlins are a threat at Yankee Stadium tomorrow? And I would say without a doubt, yes, because Cortez has not showed us early on in the game that he can get through the first round of batters. He's really struggled. And since that's real, how can you not see a scenario where Arias gets on base, then steals second, right? Then Josh Bell walks because Cortez has also been walking guys. So now you have first and second, and then Berger comes to the plate, and then he gets on base, and then Chisholm hits a grand slam. Now all of a sudden you're down 4-0. And we keep saying how, and I see this all the time. Well, Cortez bounces back. Yeah, that's great and all, but Cortez, when he bounces back and he's pitching well at the end of his start, he's now not going to give you as many innings because normally he's already up there in pitch count, first off. Second, the damage has been done. They've already put a 4 spot. That puts a lot of pressure on the Yankees. Now, the Yankees lineup should never have an issue scoring 4 runs. But like you mentioned, it's early in the year. It's cold. It's not as easy to get going with the bats. Not everybody likes playing in the cold. So with that said, got to be careful at the top of the lineup. I also said Arias as if like he only hit singles. My guy had a triple today. So this is somebody that has a lot of speed, can get to that third base bag, could even have it inside the Parker if you play it wrong. Obviously, you know, they have guys like Nick Gordon. They have, you know, guys like Tim Anderson, like I mentioned, Chisholm. They have more speed than given credit for. But Berger and Bell back to back, those are powerful hitters. Those are guys that like, you know,
leading the team in ERA and the RBI.
Yeah.
So like, let's be clear. ERA. Yeah, my brain's fried. So yeah, so he's leading the team in RBIs. So that means something. Yeah, it means a couple things. One, it means he's swinging a hot bat, but he's also a righty against Nestor Cortez. So that is going to help, especially at Yankee Stadium. But it also means that Arias and a lot of those other guys like Bell, they're not particularly swinging great bats. So let me say this. I actually have somewhat, and I'm not saying you don't have faith in Nestor Cortez because that's not it. Again, you're trying to use the context of his first 2 starts. And to be fair, he hasn't given us any reason to believe that he's going to show up tomorrow. But let me say this. Based on who the Marlins have doing damage, and we talked about their ability to run, I really trust, if there's one thing I trust about Nestor Cortez, is that he'll hold on runners. That's what I do trust. And especially Nestor Cortez's ability to get off the mat against young hitters. I feel like he's more susceptible to veteran hitters that have an understanding of what he's trying to do. He's really trying to work off the plate with his cutter inside. He's trying to throw his backdoor cutter, something we saw at the All-Star game when he was mic'd up. Really good pitch for him over the years. But young players tend to not really pick up on these tendencies. And hopefully the 1-9 Marlins come into the game with a undisciplined approach, very similar to the way you saw Toronto. In my opinion, if that happens, I think Nestor Cortez can pitch around Jake Berger and work the rest of the young hitters in that lineup. If he does that, especially early, this is going to be a very good game for the Yankees. I think we'll know 2 innings in what type of game this is going to be. And if we see Nestor Cortez go 2 shutout to start this game, I think he cruises. But obviously, if there's traffic right away, he's walking guys, giving up extra base hits. Yeah, it's not going to be good. So I've actually got some faith in Nestor for the first time all season.
Yeah, it's definitely a good opportunity for him. Very heavy lefty lineup.
Yes.
Which, you know, it's good, you would think, but at the same time, not at Yankee Stadium. Like, you know what I mean? So I do see a scenario there where like a Josh Bell becomes a problem. The only right-handers in their like right now in their lineup, the only righty bats, you're looking at Berger, Anderson, and Bettencourt.
Yeah, but Bell is also going to be hitting righty because he's a switch hitter.
Yeah, he's a switch hitter. That's right.
So the good news there is we won't be seeing him lefty.
Yeah, and like again, because I don't want to just like minimize the righty lefty matchup because it does help out Cortez going against the lefty. But at the same time, though, like that short porch, it just takes that one mistake pitch and it doesn't matter the lefty, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that's more of my concern because I think they have some guys that could do that. Very interesting lineup. I mean, it's almost all lefties.
Yeah, which I don't even know whether or not this is a good thing or not. Because, I mean, of course, you come into Yankee Stadium as a lefty, you see Rizzo. I mean, we saw the home run Rizzo hit the other day. I mean, he barely touched that ball. And I know he barely touched it. And that's part of the reason why we've been clamoring about lefties for years and why we don't get them, why we went and got Joey Gallo. But if a whole lineup is stacked with lefties, it seems like it'd be a good thing when you've got a lefty on the mound. So
yeah, well, that was my thought.
Yeah, Nestor's got to expose that lineup flaw that they've got going right there. But all in all, they do not have the juju. So huge performance, I'm sure, from what's his face, who we really like, Luzardo. He's got great stuff. So if it's
Yeah.
going to be cold, he's throwing hard, he's throwing sinkers. It's not going to be an easy day tomorrow, but as long as we're still staying disciplined and working at bats, in my opinion, Nestor's just got to be decent. If he's decent, we're winning this game.
And they didn't have to use Clay Holmes today, so Clay Holmes will be available. I think Hamilton will be available. I think it'll be another bullpen game. I think Nestor probably goes 5. So you'll have to use, some bullpen guys. I think the Yankees win. I think it's going to be a tough one, though. I think, we're going to be a little surprised. I'm going to say 6-4. But I think Nestor gets pounded on earlier in the first inning and then bounces back, kind of like what he's been doing all year. But I think the Yankees bats give me enough confidence where I'm like, okay, yeah, 6-4. I'll take the Yankees. I think tomorrow we see Glaber's first homer of the year. I think he's been ready.
First homer, okay.
I think we also see a bomb from Austin Wells if he's in the lineup. If he's not, I might even pick the Marlins to win the game. No, I'm kidding. But still, wouldn't be great.
Okay. No, we'll take that. So, but as far as our rotation goes, we also have a little bit of an update on Garrett Cole. Started his throwing program today. So that's amazing news. We don't really know what that means, especially given the fact of covering this Yankees team. You just don't know what they're talking about. Man, they can tell you that they're starting a throwing program. You won't see that guy till 2026, or it could mean the opposite. It could mean that he's been throwing for 2 weeks, right? It doesn't seem like we necessarily get the truth out of this organization. But as far as what that means, they said that this is a quote that they're expecting the whole regimen and the throwing program. After that throwing program concludes, it's going to be a spring training regimen, meaning 35 to 40 pitches, then 50 to 65 pitches, right? So if you do the math, it is smart. By the time, especially given the start the Yankees have gotten off to, you can do the math. They said he's going to be out. They say 2 months. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think give or take. I mean, we're expecting June. That's really what it comes down to.
I'm expecting mid-June.
Yeah.
Very slow, methodical process. And to be honest with you, I don't blame them at all. Given the way we're playing, if we had started this campaign the same way the Baltimore started and we're 4-5, yeah, we might be in a different spot. I know it's early, but yeah, when you put yourself in a hole, it forces you to make decisions physically with guys that you just frankly don't want to make. So thankfully, the Yankees, while their bats haven't been scorching, we're finding ways to win games. So we just have to be thankful about it.
No, I agree with that. I think I've always found it funny with baseball. It's not in that it's wrong, but, with other sports, it's like you go through like, the injuries in football and you're like, oh yeah, he's working it out. He's working on the side. He's limited in practice. Hockey, what don't they play through in hockey? He's wearing a red jersey, but he's out practice today. Basketball, just be like, yeah, load management, whatever. He's taking a day off, whatever. Baseball, he's allowed to play catch now. He's throwing off of flat ground. Again, you understand the logic, but you can't tell me that doesn't sound absolutely hilarious. It just sounds funny every time I see it.
Well, we do it in baseball all the time. He's jogging now. I'm like, yeah, jogging. What does that mean? Hey guys, good news. I know it's a baseball player, but he's jogging. The guy.
He's walking now. Like, oh, what was he doing before?
How is he?
I love the one occasionally you'll see it. He's allowed to play catch.
Mm-hmm.
Like with his dad, I mean, it's like I don't know. He's allowed now. So
and we know it's low intensity catch. Like I'm sure we get that, and they want to get feedback. Okay, you lightly
but throwing off of flat ground stuff like that just sounds funny. You understand why they say it. You understand what they're doing. It just sounds funny. That's
a way to load the words and temper your expectations at the same time.
But it's funny because that doesn't like load words at all. Like when I see that, I just laugh. It's not like, oh, flat ground.
No, but you laugh. But you have to remember, the average person watching says Garrett Cole started throwing. So when they see that, they say, okay, he's just begun lobbing the ball. And then after that, they're going to say, hey, how does it feel? And then we're going to go from there. But
Yeah.
they're not going to tell us, hey, by the way, Garrett Cole he's throwing 120 feet, because just by saying he's throwing 120 feet, you naturally go, okay, they throw 60 feet pitching, throwing 120 feet. That means he's like kind of playing long toss. He's got to be close. And then we start asking questions about him being close. That's
exactly.
literally what that is. So I think they tell us what we need to know so we don't ask them stuff they don't want to answer.
Exactly. And the Hudson Valley team, the single A team, all those fans are anxiously waiting for that one opportunity to get to see him pitch, because that's how it is. Being a minor league baseball fan, it's like you get to see some of these guys and watch them, grow and hopefully not get traded and become part of the system. But then in addition to that, you also get to see the rehab start. So it's their first chance of like, hey, I didn't have to pay all that money to go to Yankee Stadium. He's right here in our backyard, Garrett Cole. That has to be one of the weirdest and most humbling moments of your entire career when you're doing rehab starts like that. Like, think about it. Garrett Cole is rich. Garrett Cole is so beyond rich. And he's used to just sitting there and watching at Yankee Stadium, front row seats, and then now he has to go to Hudson Valley, wherever that is, because that's not anywhere by the Hudson Valley Community College in my area. So I don't even know where that is. Or go to, wherever any of these are, Somerset. And, so it's just, it's funny when you think about that, because it's like so humbling. You have to imagine, right? For these guys that live like this lavish lifestyle, and they're like,
no, actually,
I
have a surprise story for you. So my dad did this. He was rehabbing from surgery, and this is when he ran into what's his face on the wall and tore his shoulder, right?
Oh my God.
And he ended up coming back for the Yankees playing first base. But during his rehab assignment, he went down to, I believe, Scranton, and all the players, which of course they're AAA.
I've actually been there.
Oh, you have?
Before the Yankees actually took them over, I watched them when they had the Phillies. Shane Victorino was there.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't remember where he went. It could have been Scranton. I don't remember the
Columbus,
city. He went,
Clippers, maybe.
I'm not even sure. But I just remember he went down to AAA, and all these players, like some players have money, a lot of them don't. Like a lot of people really underrate the difference between pay between AAA and major leagues. Yeah. And my dad got there, and you're making like $13-14 million a year, and you've made hundreds of millions in your career. So these guys are like, he's watching how people are going about their business post game. He's like, what are we doing? And my dad's more of an outgoing personality compared to what people expect. And he said, hey, you guys can meet me over at the steakhouse. It was like the best steakhouse in the area. And the whole team went down there. And my dad said, yeah, you guys can just get whatever you want. These guys ran up the bill to like $100,000.
Oh,
he had to go
my God.
and he had to pay this bill. And I mean, I'm not crying for the guy, because I mean, he got it. But
yeah,
but it was just funny, because it kind of goes to show you, like, there's so much weirdness and awkwardness with the situation, but at the same time, it's got to feel good to go into a situation where you can kind of help out other guys in the organization that maybe can help you someday. So it was pretty cool.
And I'm sure that's probably a story that they tell for the rest of their lives. Like, yeah, remember that time Gary Sheffield, bro? Like, I mean,
another player told me the story. My dad didn't even tell me the story. It was somebody else. They said, yeah, dude, your dad pretty much just showed up in a Rolex and just flexed on us in a Bentley in AAA. And we were just what? And it's, if you know my dad, it's so him to just pull up in a Rolls Royce to a AAA game. Like, you remember Michael Jordan? Remember Michael Jordan showing up? And he's like in a red Corvette. He's in a cherry red Corvette showing up to like spring training games for the White Sox. I'm like, what are we doing? but at the same time, it was freaking cool. So
that is cool.
We love it.
Yeah, it's just, it's one of those things that you don't think about. And then when you do, you're like, actually, that's a really fascinating thing. So yeah, those of you who are, I think it'd be Hudson Valley, right? It'll be single A, maybe AAA. Yeah, those of you who are minor league baseball fans, the New York Yankees farm system, definitely get yourself ready, because Garrett Cole is coming to a small city near you. With that said, it's been a fun show. You can follow us at Yankees Unloaded on all social media. You can follow me at JK Bogan. You can follow Gary at Gary Sheffield Jr. We will be back tomorrow following the Yankees Marlins game. 8-2 Yankees, first 10 games of the year, off to a fantastic start. It has not been perfect, but you never know it based on their record. So a lot of fun awaits, but we'll see you guys in the next one. You guys take care.
Like this video.